Good afternoon. My name is Kirsten Dellinger, and I have the honor of serving as the Associate Dean for Diversity and Inclusion in the College of Liberal Arts. I'm so pleased to welcome you all to today's event celebrating this year's University of Mississippi Humanities Council Teacher of the Year. Each year, the University of Mississippi selects a faculty member to receive the Humanities Teacher of the Year award, which is co-sponsored by the Mississippi Humanities Council. The college organizes this exceptional annual lecture and is very proud to sponsor it with the unwavering support from the Mississippi Humanities Council. Thank you for joining us today. It's good to see so many of people here at our first ever virtual version of this event. A few notes about the format before we begin. Tonight's lecture is being brought to you in webinar style, so you will not see yourself or others on the screen. Dr. Foster and his presentation will be featured on the screen. Given the virtual format of tonight's event, in lieu of the traditional question and answer session at the end of the talk, Dr. Foster has asked that if you have any questions or comments, that you can send them directly to his Twitter account, and he will provide that for you at the end of the talk. In a moment, you'll have the distinct pleasure of listening to a lecture entitled, "I Don't Like the Blues, A Lesson on Listening," by Dr. Brian Foster, Assistant Professor of Sociology and Southern Studies, University of Mississippi's 2021 Humanities Teacher of the Year. But before we turn to that, as is customary, we'll begin with a message from a member of the Mississippi Humanities Council Board. Tonight, we are fortunate to have with us Dr. Doug Sullivan Gonzalez, Dean of the Sally Barksdale Honors College and Professor of History at the University of Mississippi. Dr. Sullivan Gonzalez would like to say a few words. Doug?
Thank you, Kirsten, appreciate it. The Mississippi Humanities Council is pleased to honor Dr. Brian Foster for his outstanding teaching here at the University of Mississippi. Every year we recognize the Humanities Teacher Award winner at each of our state colleges and university, and the awardee is asked to present a lecture on a humanities-related subject of their choice and receives a cash award. And this year will be publicly recognized for their achievement during our virtual awards gala on March 26. We at the Humanities Council believe that it's important to recognize the excellence of humanities teachers and highlight the importance of the humanities to create engaged and informed scholars. At the Mississippi Humanities Council, we believe that humanities are for everyone. And this is true both here at the University of Mississippi, for our people here in Oxford and across the state. The Council is an independent nonprofit organization supported by the National Endowment for the Humanities and also by grants and donations from private foundations, corporations, and individuals. The Council in turn supports and develops a wide range of programs across Mississippi that help us explore the rich history and culture. We create opportunities for Mississippians to learn about themselves and the larger world and enrich communities through civil conversations by promoting lifelong learning in our state. We invite all of you to join us in this work. Please visit our website, mshumanities.org, or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram to learn more about us and our programs. Thank you very much. Look forward to the evening.
Thank you. I am honored to introduce Dr. Brian Foster, an assistant professor in the departments of Sociology and Anthropology and the Center for the Study of Southern Culture. Dr. Foster is a native of Shannon, Mississippi, and earned his BA degree in African American Studies at the University of Mississippi and his MA and PhD degrees in sociology at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Dr. Foster recently published his first book, on which his talk is based, entitled, "I Don't Like the Blues, Race, Place, and the Backbeat of Black Life," with the University of North Carolina Press. And he was recently selected as the co-editor of the acclaimed journal, Sociology of Race and Ethnicity. In their nomination letter for Dr. Foster, Director of the Center for the Study of Southern Culture, Dr. Katie McKee, and Chair of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology, Dr. Jeff Jackson, note that such accomplishments demonstrate that Dr. Foster is clearly on his way to tenure and scholarly success. But they highlight this in their letter. There is no part of which Dr. Foster's work that matters to him more than teaching well. And it is that commitment that we honor with this nomination. They also add, there is a satisfying circularity in honoring a Mississippian educated in Mississippi, now teaching in Mississippi with this award from the Mississippi's Humanities Council. We are here to honor and celebrate Dr. Foster's commitment to extraordinary teaching tonight. Dr. Foster has developed and taught a range of popular courses that have expanded our curriculum at the University of Mississippi and expanded the horizons of his students. Some of these courses include race, space, and place, music and Southern society, and oral history of Southern social movements, to name a few. His teaching at both undergraduate and graduate levels in these courses is consistently, quantitatively ranked by his students as superior, and qualitatively described in student comments as amazing, relevant and exciting, unique and authentic, and caring. Dr. Foster is the epitome of a teacher scholar. In a recent AAC&U study exploring the actual existence of faculty with this kind of commitment, teacher scholars are defined as those who are committed to high quality undergraduate education, those that pursue an active program of research and scholarship, and enliven and enrich their teaching and the student experience by incorporating insights from their own research into their instructional activities, student advising, and related work. They are also those who promote deep approaches to learning. I think Brian gets to the heart of the matter when he talks about his own teaching. He says, quote, "I'm motivated by the craft and excitement of teaching and learning, of language and ideas. I keep challenging myself to be better at what I do. I'll keep hearing from students on what I can do better. I deeply value what students have to say about the classes I teach. I'll keep building classes that excite and invigorate me and hopefully strike up some deep curiosity in the students who take my classes. It's all about the journey for me." And that approach is why students admire and clamor to learn from Dr. Foster, to learn with him. He is a teacher scholar extraordinaire who invites people on a journey. Dr. Foster's teaching breaks and bridges boundaries. He teaches and mentors in all manner of places and spaces with a passion and dedication to the journey of learning. Traditional disciplines cannot contain him. His courses are cross-listed in sociology, Southern studies, and African American studies. He teaches honor students. He mentors McNair students. He will teach students in a Social 101 fast track section this fall. He mentors members of the Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. He invites all students to be part of this journey and does critical work to bolster networks of support and pathways to success for students of color. He also practices a community engaged approach to his teaching, bringing students and community members together in this process of discovery and learning. He goes beyond the traditional classroom. His nominators mention his recent course on oral history as an example, where he has worked with members of the African American community in Yalobusha County and UM students to co-create oral histories, and developed a web presence for this project called the Hill County Collective. He gave a keynote for the Southern Foodways Alliance this fall, where Dr. McKee and Dr. Jackson note that the beautiful poem / historical research project / family history / film was a remarkable example of Brian teaching his audience in an unconventional setting with unconventional tools about the resiliency of Black life in Mississippi. Dr. Foster is dedicated to expanding minds, fostering creative thinking, and building more inclusive, equitable, and dynamic spaces for learning at the University of Mississippi and beyond. He sees and truly values his students, and they see and truly value him. We are so fortunate to have Dr. Foster here at the University of Mississippi and to have the opportunity to join him on this ongoing journey of discovery tonight. On behalf of the College of Liberal Arts and the Mississippi Humanities Council, I offer my heartiest congratulations for this well-deserved honor. You and your teaching are truly inspirational, Brian. please help me congratulate and welcome Dr. Brian Foster.
We can share. I'm a storyteller, which I think is kind of like being an artist, I think. Except instead of making things with paint or clay, I make stuff with words, stories. Because I'm a sociologist, my stories are real. They tend to start with questions and they always end with us, people, communities, the human condition. And because I believe more than anything in the power of language, I always hope that my stories can be both artful and instructive, that they can move us, that they can teach us, that they can make us to think, and that by doing that, they can call us to listen. Even and especially if sometimes we have to do that, the listening in ways not like we used to, and in ways that are not like we are used to. What I have today is a story. To start, I start with a letter. Dear Dr. Aaron Henry, thank you so much for making our trip to Clarksdale one that we will long remember. I can say without reservation that this was the finest meeting that the Southern Christian Leadership Conference has ever had. I hope you are as proud as we are pleased. The letter ends. My prayers are with you, your charming wife and most adorable daughter. Please give them my warm regards, May 29th, 1958. A quick piece of correspondence from someone whose story most of us will be familiar with, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to someone who at least a few of us have heard of, Dr. Aaron Henry, longtime resident of Clarksdale, Mississippi, a man who over the course of his life served as president of the Mississippi branch of the NAACP, and who established, contributed to, helped lead more than a dozen other local, regional, and national civil rights organizations. But today's story ain't about the letter, necessarily, or the man who sent it, at least not necessarily. It don't really start with the man who received the letter either. Today's story starts with the place where the letter was sent. Aaron Henry's 4th Street drugstore in Clarksdale, Mississippi. These are the kinds of stories I tell, after all. Stories of place. Stories about the places, the towns, communities, villages, streets, sidewalks where people live, where people die, where people work, play, organize, the places where people provide and create and make sense of their lives and the best of what they have. Places like the 4th Street drugstore in Clarksdale. Place comes first for me for 2 reasons. The first one is simple. Every single thing about human life happens somewhere. And if you have questions or want stories about human life, which I do, you better go somewhere too. And so I do. And here is the contention. Place matters. The places where life happens matter for every single part of life that happens. Place ain't just the backdrop. It ain't just in the background. It is in us and on us and around us always and already. Place matters. It shapes the opportunities and resources we have access to, like how people in Jackson, Mississippi have not had running water in 4 weeks, or Black and poor folks in Flint, Michigan ain't have clean water for 5 years, or the state of Mississippi competent leadership damn near ever. Place matters. It becomes a part of how we see ourselves and each other, like how people not from Mississippi like to talk about Mississippi like they could make it in Mississippi if they had to. Crits say, I do it for the South, y'all know, born and raised where the rebel flags hang from them slaves. I grew up where y'all won't go. And like how people like us in Mississippi will claim Mississippi, even when we know it's parts of Mississippi that have, would, and will never claim us. Place matters. It orders, organizes, and erases, like what the interstate did to Black neighborhoods in virtually every major American city: Oakland, Chicago, St. Paul, Baltimore, Houston, Atlanta, Miami. And railroad tracks did to southern towns, and environmental racism helped Katrina do to New Orleans, and real estate speculators helped Chicago do to Mississippi. The second reason why my work centers place is that my work centers Black folks, Black American people, the conditions of Black life in America, the perspectives of Black Americans in the South, the experiences of Black Southerners in rural communities. Geographer Catherine McKittrick shows and tells us why this must be so in the essay, Black Matters Are Spatial Matters, in which she writes, Black lives are necessarily geographic. That means, to me, to tell a story of Black life is to tell a story of Black geographies, is to tell a story of, among other things, Black place. Aaron Henry's 4th Street drugstore in Clarksdale was a Black place. Until it burned in 1980, the store was located at 220 4th Street, the intersection of 4th Street and Ashton Avenue, just south of the tracks of the Illinois Central Railroad, in a district that many Black folks in Clarksdale refer to as Black Downtown. In the 3 decades from 1940 to 1960, 4th Street had more Black-owned and operated businesses than any other street in Clarksdale: barbershops, juke joints, pool halls, a moving company, shoe shops, clothing stores, messengers, and Aaron Henry's drugstore. On any given day, outside of Henry's drugstore, you can find Black folks living and being, some dressed up and some dressed down. From right to left, a man in all white rests his arm on a parking meter by a light pole by another man in suspenders with his shirt halfway unbuttoned. His look and his left knee follow each other. 2 women stand in the background looking like they stopped talking to see, holding umbrellas like it stopped raining for them to be. In the background, a bike with a basket under a window with cameras, shelves with things, a place with life. In the center, a cluster of people. Stand in front of the front window and door of the store, a woman in a skirt, one in shorts, one a dress. A man is going in, his back blocked by 2 others standing looking out, one supporting his self, another hugging his. Their feet know each other. Somebody buys a Coke beside a Black woman holding a beautiful baby, standing slightly behind somebody holding something I can't tell what it is. Him behind 2 women clutching umbrellas and another her right arm, everybody living and looking. The same was true on nearby Issaquena Avenue, especially the 200-yard stretch that stretches from the viaduct that supports the railroad tracks to 4th Street, where Henry's drugstore was. If 4th Street was the epicenter of Black business in Clarksdale in the 1950s and 60s, Issaquena was the epicenter of Black everything else. It was something like an entertainment district. It was there where you could find Black women and Black men trading with Black, Lebanese, and Jewish merchants, children standing, people coming and going from here to there, from outside into juke joints, where you might hear John Lee Hooker or Muddy Waters, or folks dressed up and show out, dancing their best, looking and smiling their best, holding to each other, gentle, dreaming, lusting, shoulder to shoulder. You might smell fried catfish or chitlins, cigarette smoke, peanuts, chicken and cold beer, hear deep laughter, feel deeper dreams of being and loving and knowing. Magazines outside the New Roxy Theater with the Soul Man, Early Wright broadcasting his radio station, WRX upstairs. Everybody from Bessie Smith to Sam Cooke and Howlin' Wolf, and muddy waters playing and singing down the house down below, and folks laughing till they side hurt, and drinking till they head hurt, and singing sweet hour of prayer that calls me from a world of care, so they don't hurt so much or for so long. On any given day, inside of the 4th Street drugstore, you could find Aaron Henry himself, who had earned a degree in pharmacology from Xavier University in 1950, walking and talking from the back of the front counter, all of Black Clarksdale in front of him, posters of James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner behind him. Henry was there in 1964. And depending on what time of day it was, you might also find Henry there in the back room of his drugstore, sitting at a long wooden table, meeting and strategizing with other local organizers. Henry said it himself. Our drugstore was to become the gathering place and hub for political and civil rights planning for 3 decades. In 1961, when this photo was taken, Henry hosted one such gathering, a meeting, which included representatives of the U.S. Department of Justice there at the behest of newly elected President John F. Kennedy. Other local activists were there too. The other local activists included 2 who, along with Henry, would go on to garner the reputation of vicious agitators. One of them was Robert L. Drew, known most widely as RL, and the other one was Dr. Vera McGee. First Drew, by 1961, he had become a critical, if quiet, part of organizing in Clarksdale, serving as chairman of the NAACP Executive Board, among other posts. He was also the founder of a credit union, United Order of Friendship, pastor of a church, and owner and founder of Royal Funeral Home, which sat and sits at 507 Ashton Avenue, the intersection of 5th Street and Ashton. On any given day outside of Royal, while you heard and felt the flows and knots of Black life turning over up on 4th Street, and the echoes of people laughing and cursing and singing out on Issaquena, on Ashton Avenue around Drew's funeral home, things moved slower. There, around the funeral home, people were making homes from the remnants of 1884, when the Louisville, New Orleans, and Texas Railroad, eventually known as the Illinois Central Railroad, was built through Clarksdale, bringing with it newcomers, a new way for Black folks to move. They could get to Chicago and back now, and bringing row after row of small frame structures to house its workers. In the years after the railroad was done, this area, which was first called Yellow Bottoms because of the color of the buildings, and was eventually called the New World because of a Black-owned saloon with the same name, became home to Black folks like R.L. Drew and Black places like his funeral home. It also became home to Black folks like Vera McGee, who by the time she met with Drew, Henry, and others at the drugstore in 1961, had proven herself to be one of the most important and active organizers in Clarksdale. In her life, she served as secretary of the Coahoma County branch of the NAACP and advisor of the NAACP's Youth Council. McGee, often with her daughter, Mary Jane, facilitated, organized, led, and participated in dozens of protests, direct actions, movement meetings, polling drives, voter registration campaigns. She was arrested multiple times, had her home targeted and shot at, all while making sure folks knew I am Ms. Vera McGee, a wife, a mother, political prisoner, business, and professional woman. Wherever I go, even if I am brought in handcuffs, my name is still Ms. Vera McGee. McGee was a Black place too. While Henry was running his drugstore on the 4th Street, and Drew his funeral home on Ashton, McGee ran her own beauty shop, which is located at 407 Ashton Avenue between Henry and Drew. On any given day inside the McGee Beauty Salon, as women entered, sat, and waited for their turn in the chair, they talked to each other, caught up on current events, laughed over stories about their children and men and lamented deaths and departures. They talked of work and news about the mass meeting the night before and the rumors of police incidents following protests, you might smell love and hope and pressed hair and Murray's and Royal Crown and Hair Rep and Blue Magic, might feel the heat of flat irons and hair dryers and of a people willing to take time to plan to get free and walk like they willing to die if they don't. The wisdom of grandmothers, mamas, and aunties, daughters, nieces, warm water running through beautiful Harrods with dirty sink magazines beside voter registration papers. A big fancy mirror, the top half of a dresser set from the back bedroom, underneath the poster making a radical demand: stop police brutality. Depending on what time of day it was, you might also find some women in Pegee around a big wooden table in the shop. Pegee was known for using her shop to house civil rights organizers and for hosting these meetings, just like the one in the back of the 4th Street drugstore in 1961, when this photo was taken. In 1961, when this photo was taken, Clarksdale Mayor W.S. Kincaid announced that the all-Black marching bands from Higgins High School and Coahoma County Junior College couldn't participate in Clarksdale's holiday parade. He didn't want Black feet on the street of the historically segregated and all-white downtown square, which stretched for several blocks north of the railroad tracks away from Black downtown. His rationale for the decision was that there was too much race stuff going on. This is the height of the civil rights movement, civil rights organizing in Clarksdale, and that there were too many outside agitators. In her book, Crossroads at Clarksdale, historian Francois Hamlin writes of Kincaid's decision: if officials thought their actions would dampen civil rights activities, their plan spectacularly backfired. This was the straw that broke the camel's back, remembered Aaron Henry. Our community had become accustomed to seeing our bands at the end of the parade, followed by our floats. Black children spent weeks preparing the floats and learning the music, and adults took pride because our bands always outstepped and outplayed everyone else. As soon as the word spread, Henry, Pegee, Drew, and other local organizers like John C. Melker, LaBoy Keys, Reverend Theodore Trammell sprang into action. First, they organized themselves. They met at Pegee's beauty salon. They met at Henry's drugstore. They met at Drew's funeral home. They met at First Baptist MB Church. After meeting and meeting and meeting, they eventually settled on their demands, which all focused on equal access to and humane treatment on the downtown square north of the tracks. Number one, they demanded that white elected officials let the bands participate in the parade. Number two, allow Black women to be employed as clerks in downtown stores. Number three, require that Black customers shopping in stores like Woolworths be addressed as Miss, Mrs., and Mr., rather than uncle, aunt, boy, girl, and that word that if you write it down, you couldn't put all of the letters. They settled on their strategy in the meetings too. Until the demands were met, they would boycott all businesses on the historically segregated downtown square. If we can't parade downtown, we won't trade downtown. That was the motto that Henry, Pegee, and others repeated. No parade, trade. No parade, no trade. There were newsletters circulated. There were handbills, they made posters. No parade, no trade. No picketing. As the boycott carried on, the local white power establishment started to agitate and carry on too. Local police arrested prominent Black residents and movement leaders, 5 of whom were charged and sentenced to 6 months in jail and $500 in fines, and whom a local investigator called 5 of the most vicious agitators in Mississippi. In the summer of 1962, the city banned picketing on the downtown square, prohibiting demonstrations with signs like the ones that Henry, Pegee, and other organizers held on the steps of First Baptist. In response, Black residents met in groups at strategic intersections just beyond the downtown square. The boycott had to go on. No parade, no trade. One of the intersections was at Issaquena and South Edwards, near the former locations of the Savoy Theater, Bates Hotel, and the saloon they gave the New World its new name. No parade, no trade. One intersection was at DeSoto and 3rd Street. No parade, no trade. One at the 2nd Street Bridge, one at the 1st Street Bridge, which connected downtown Clarksdale to the Oakhurst neighborhood, which at the time was an exclusive all-white community. A group met on Couture Hill in the shadow of a mansion by the same name. No parade, no trade. And there was one where the tracks of the Illinois Central Railroad crossed over Sunflower Avenue, where I found myself standing on a too-hot evening in April 2017. All of this history was there with me too. The letter from King to Henry, thanking him for a meeting in 1958. The spirit, the sound, the joy of Issaquena Avenue. The folks dressed up and down, looking, standing up and down 4th Street in front of Henry's drugstore, R.L. Drew's funeral home, Vera Pegue's beauty salon, the faces of the humans standing with signs on the steps of First Baptist. It was all there with me on that day in 2017, standing there at Sunflower and the railroad tracks. I had first moved to Clarksdale 3 years earlier in 2014 as a graduate student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. From the book, I had gone to Clarksdale to study the South, to talk to enough people and spend enough time to say something worth knowing about the Black folks who call the region home. I had gone to set the record straight, to say how for Black Southerners, the civil rights movement was less a period and more a comma, that the 1960s was not when life stopped for Black folks, but when it paused and reconfigured itself, making the old sound new or at least seem different. I had gone to Clarksdale to say how the rural Black South had changed. I'd gone everywhere in Clarksdale too, everywhere I could. Hot football games in the summer, raucous basketball gyms in winter, people's front porches and dinner tables, and the holiday parade at Christmas time. From the book. It usually go through right over there, the man told me, pointing along the sidewalk of Clarksdale's downtown square in the direction of Mac's consignment shop. Eventually, I saw Mac himself go through, his truck behind another truck that had been outfitted with a holiday wreath and in front of a float for the County Youth Outreach Program. There were other floats too, most of them draped with rolling string lights, many of them carrying people who carried bags of candy to throw toward the waiting hands of children and other people watching. There were local and area high school marching bands, filling the night sky and dim sidewalks with rhythm. There was a dazzling group of Black adolescent girls smiling and high-stepping in front of a truck boasting of the Delta Blues. It was Clarksdale's annual holiday parade, December 2014. I had gone to school as a teacher for 2 classrooms of beautiful Black 3rd graders. I'd gone to city hall meetings and all the restaurants and coffee shops that I could stand. I had hooped at the park. In the high school gym, I had been in people's kitchen to eat chicken and biscuits and greens and to drink whiskey and slap bones. And I had gone to church. From the book, come and go to that land, come and go to that land. It was the night after the Juke Joint show at T-Bone's Blues Club, and I was at Boys' Mama's church, sweating and clapping as the choir and congregation sang in unison, come and go to that land where I'm bound. Boys had asked me to come with him to the closing night of the spring revival services for the week. Don't you want to go to that land? I had gone on work trips with folks, running a 5K with folks, rushed through the night to the blackjack tables in Tunica with folks. I had stood in the street crying with folks. From the book, the night made the flames of our candles seem dim, and the moon seemed like a street light, and Chester Butt's voice seemed like a sermon. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels this way, but I'm tired, he said. He was standing on the front porch of Miss Myrtle Messenger, I was standing in the front yard among some 100 people, us all gathered for a candlelight vigil. The week before, Miss Messenger had been sitting with her husband when they heard a knock at the door. When she answered it, a masked man shot her from point blank range. It's sad, Darlene Atkinson Knowles had told me earlier that day at the stove, as we both wondered aloud why so many people seemed to go too soon. It's sad, a woman said from someplace in front of me, her voice louder than our murmurs, as the whole town seemed to wonder in quiet what it meant to remain. Enough is, Chester called out. Enough, we responded. It has to stop, he called again. Yes, again. The woman was louder than everyone else. For a while, people kept coming, piling and squeezing into the yard, shoulder to shoulder. Eventually, spilling and pouring into the street. Eventually, they stopped coming and we all just stood. I had gone to Clarksdale to study the South, to talk to enough people and spend enough time to say something worth knowing about the Black folks who call the region home. I had gone to say how the rural Black South had changed. And by 2017, as I stood at Sunflower in the railroad tracks, after going to all them places and spending all that time and talking to all them people, after studying decades of census data and archival documents, I was learning how to say how it had changed, like how the labor market had shrank, jobs had left, like how the prospects of earning a living wage stopped showing up even more than they had before, like how public infrastructure had become even more in need of support, people moving away even more, like how Black households in Clarksdale earn even less than half of the income of white households in town, like how in 2013, 4 in 10 people, and nearly 6 in 10 children were living and learning what poverty was, and how most of those people were Black folks, and how those numbers just kept going the wrong way, even more like how state legislators and local elected officials somehow looked at all of that, and the best they could come up with was the blues. New festivals, like the ever popular Juke Joint Blues Festival in April or the Sunflower River Festival in August, new blues museums and heritage markers, like the 200 plus that you can find on the Mississippi Blues Trail, new blues clubs and performance venues like the ever popular Ground Zero downtown, and a new state-sponsored blues commission to connect and oversee it all. Blues tourism was supposed to be a new revenue stream. A new revenue stream was supposed to come to the rescue. I had heard and I had seen all of that, seen all of these things, the festivals, the clubs, the museums, the specialty stores and gift shops, the boutique hotels and performance stages, all of these things. I had seen how all of them, every single one of them were located north of the tracks of the Illinois Railroad. All of those things were behind me on that evening in 2017 as I stood on the tracks. In front of me, I saw a group of adolescent boys. In front of me, Black downtown. In front of me, a Black village. Some of the boys were on bikes, some running, some with their shirts off. All of them in various states of contentment, laughter, shouting, talking. The boys on bikes rode in circles in the parking lot of the Church of God in Christ, national headquarters to my left. They cursed as they went around. 2 boys ran from the parking lot of the Bishop T.T. Scott Fellowship Center on my right. When their feet hit Sunflower, they turned south and laughed away. Their Black backs eventually just Black silhouettes, their laughter a passing car, the evening of Black night, the boys on bikes chasing. I listened at them go. And I listened at the street, and I listened at the railroad tracks. I listened at the place. It was talking. The place was talking. 4th Street and Henry's drugstore, they were talking. Issaquena was talking. Ashton Avenue was talking. McGee's Beauty Salon, Drew's Funeral Home, First Baptist, Haven, St. James, all talking. And by then I had learned how to listen to the place. And so I listened and I remembered 1962, the downtown boycott, no parade, no trade. the 6 intersections. A movement leader had been put in charge of each one of them. Henry had one, Peggy had one, others had others. Issaquah and South Edwards, no parade, no trade. The 2nd Street Bridge, DeSoto and 3rd Street, the 1st Street Bridge, Couture Hill, no parade, no trade. And the place where the tracks of the Illinois Central Railroad crossed over Sunflower Avenue, where I found myself standing on that evening in 2017. In 1962, R.L. Drew had that one. He had been charged with overseeing that intersection, Sunflower and the tracks. Worked, organized, lived with Vera Peggy, with Aaron Henry, and with all the folks in the Black Downtown Village. As I mentioned, he was the operator of the United Order of Friendship, a credit union. At a time when local economic institutions have become a tool of intimidation and racial control. In addition to the credit union, Drew was the pastor of a local church and the owner and director of a funeral home. The same funeral home that hosted one of the meetings with Aaron Henry and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the same meeting that King had written to Henry about in that letter from 1958. They had not met at the drugstore. They had met at Royal Funeral Home, the same funeral home where I had sat and talked with R.L. Drew's niece, who had arrived in Clarksdale in 1963, the year the downtown boycott ended. Drew's niece had come to help him run the funeral home. Her name was Bobby Fair. When R.L. Drew died, she became him. She became the director of Royal. She died in 2016. 2 years before that, in 2014, I asked her what kind of music she liked. She said she loves the guy who sings Mom's Apple Pie. Then said something that would end up forcing me to learn how to listen. Something that raised a question for me. A story. She said, almost like a whisper, I don't like the blues. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. I am not sure if my video is able to be turned on now, or if people can hear me. I would.
Yes, we can hear you. We don't see your video. Okay,
yeah, but it's telling me that it is unable. I'm unable to start the video, and it's because the host has stopped it. So if someone could make that possible,
yes,
that would be great. From behind my name, I will say thank you so much, Brian and Dr. Foster. This was an incredible, inspirational, here I am. Thank you so much. It was an incredible, inspirational talk, and the kinds of lessons that you provided about how this kind of deep listening allows us to see that the place is talking was just really inspirational. And it is pretty clear for anyone who was attending tonight's lecture why you are the winner of the Humanities Teacher of the Year Award. Thank you so much. And I want to remind people again that that Dr. Foster welcomes your questions or comments. If you have interest in his work and his teaching, you can reach him at his Twitter account, which is @BBrianFoster. So again, that's @ @BBrianFoster. I want to thank you all for attending tonight's lecture, and I want to wish congratulations to you, Dr. Foster, once again. I hope everyone has a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank y'all.
Thank you.